I'm Dr. Jordan Wiggins, and this is the Pleasure Principles podcast. Join me on this journey where sex, science, and sensuality meet. Let's change the conversation around sex and pleasure together. Hello, super women, super people. You know, when you're so close to a problem, you don't see it, when your head is so far up your ass that it's almost like it's invisible to you until you have a different perspective, a different vantage point. I'm sure you can all think of times where this applies. This is one of those episodes for me. It's a must listen and it is a must share. We don't like to share things that make us feel uncomfortable. And in this case, this is a part of the problem. The silence is the problem. And I can almost guarantee that you are ignorant on parts of this. I went to medical school. I participated in walks against female violence, and I didn't get it. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and it is women that I've interacted with, like Dr. Kelly Lamoureux, McKinney Smith, Anna Kendrick, Kelly Clarkston, and a homicide, a murder of a former patient a few weeks ago, that in my own experience, that is having me actually talk about this today. Human rights are the foundation of our collective well-being and are the cornerstone of a just and equitable society. That quote is from the UN. Domestic violence and intimate partner abuse are alarming and pervasive that affect individuals from all walks of life. And I see it disproportionately affecting superwomen. Superwomen have the traits that abusers look for. We have the qualities that those with unhealed trauma, addicts, abusers, like I said, are attracted to. We are caring, we are compassionate, we are hardworking. We don't give up on people easily. We have this mentality of, if I work hard enough, I can fix this. We are people pleasers. We are honest and believe that and that we believe that other people are too. We're caregivers or we're overgivers. We're great at tolerating. We're great at trying to ignore our pain. We keep pushing until we are sick in bed or like something knocks us out. So it's so bad we literally have to stop. I know you know what I mean, because I speak to women every single day that are like this. They've tolerated something for so long until they are literally sick in bed. It could be a recurrent migraine. It could be monthly period problems, like blowing out, like hurting, injuring your knee or your back or something. But we don't listen until something happens to take us out. We also have a tendency to blame ourselves for others' negative emotions, but we don't take responsibility for their positive ones. But if those around us, our loved ones, our kids, our partners, feel like crap, we feel like it's our responsibility to fix it. We're conditioned to do that. That's good girl conditioning. It's Kasia Urbaniak's term, something that I use in my teaching with women, which is everything that I just said. People pleasers, caregiving, tolerating, putting our needs last, making sure that everyone else is happy and fulfilled, even if it comes at the expense of us and our own needs. I have a 3-part podcast series, which is going to include an episode for the men about this conditioning and about this pervasive stuff. So even if you are not experiencing domestic violence, there is a fine line between an unfulfilled relationship, a toxic, unhealthy, like being unfulfilled is one thing. Being toxic, like having a toxic, unhealthy relationship, it's a little more severe. And then we have like downright abusive relationships. But as you listen, I guarantee there is going to be parts of the toxic, unhealthy that is happening in your relationship or that you are doing. And it's because of this societal conditioning. It's because we are so close to the problem, we don't see it. So lots of women that I work with are unfulfilled. In fact, 75% of the women that I work with know that they're unfulfilled. They have so much, the cars, the house, they take the vacations, they get the Botox, they have the bag, but something's missing. They want to do better. They want to learn. They want better sex. They want better connection. They want better intimacy. And the difference with an unfulfilled relationship is that them and their partner are willing to fix it. So about 25% of the women that I work with are in toxic or abusive relationships. And it's the funny thing is these are like brilliant CEOs, surgeons, high net worth women. And sometimes they don't even see their relationship as toxic or abusive at first. They come blaming themselves and wanting to fix it. Oh, I've just been so preoccupied at work, or I'm so stressed I can't relax. But sometimes there is more to it. And when women are in abusive relationships, toxic relationships, it can take years for them to, one, recognize it and also get out of the abuse cycle and break that trauma bond. We'll talk about why. It's also why some of these unhealthy, these toxic patterns persist even in relationships where like there's two, healthy people, but with toxic patterns. But those shift, those heal, we can, with the right tools, with the right support, with the right nervous system regulation, pleasure practices, we can shift those. And those people move on to have better sex, more connected relationships, amazing energy, life's good. But then there's those in this portion of the population, and I did not realize it until it happened to me. I had counselors, I had family members, I had friends trying to tell me, warn me, get me to see, but I couldn't even see it. So domestic violence, intimate partner violence, violence against women is not necessarily what you think. And yes, women can be abusers. They can be the toxic ones. This is a two-way street, but the statistics are they're overwhelming that women are the victims. And that is what I'm talking about today. So many women are so entrenched in abuse. We have so many intergenerational beliefs and status, like gender roles, that we don't even notice abuse is abuse. And it happens so slowly. And it's like, how I can describe it is, when you're at the beach and like, I didn't even notice that my sunglasses were dirty. They had like sand and salt spray all over them. And I didn't even notice until I go to put them on the next day. Like that is how domestic violence happens slowly over time, that you cannot even see that the environment that you are in is toxic. Because if somebody met you and started treating you as abusively as they do after you are entangled financially, invested emotionally, have children together, etc., if they treated you like that on the first date, abusers would never have any victims. So let's talk about what domestic violence is. And I want you to be aware that this is happening to women that you know. And sometimes it's even happening, like there's elements of this in your own relationship. So fixable, but let's, like this might be a 2 times listener for some of you. Domestic violence. What is it? Physical abuse, what most of us think of, the obvious signs, any form of physical harm. Number 2, emotional and psychological abuse. This is not visible, which I argue could be even more harmful than the physical abuse because it is not as recognized by authorities, the courts. So this form of abuse includes belittling, humiliation, and manipulation. Victims feel isolated, depressed, generally start to have health concerns as a part of the emotional abuse. And I see it excused away a lot, like, oh, he's an asshole when he's drunk, or he's just really stressed out. He's dealing with his unhealed trauma, to excuse common behaviors like name calling, threats, and gaslighting. And gaslighting is anything that makes the victim doubt their own reality. And super women are very, very easily gaslit for the the traits that I described above. And again, I'm going to get into the details of this, like unfulfilled, toxic, abusive relationship, that spectrum in the series that I have coming up next. But quickly, for today's purposes, the most common form of gaslighting that I see in superwoman relationships is you go to your partner with a need or to share your feelings, and you leave that conversation feeling like the problem. You don't feel seen, you don't feel heard, you don't feel supported. Nothing changes. Like, so you went to express your feelings about something that happened, a situation, and it becomes about your partner and their feelings about the situation. And you never really feel heard or seen, and you sweep it under the rug until the pattern happens again, over and over and over. And this is a form of domestic violence and psychological abuse. Now, women being gaslit is a part of society, and I'm going to get to that in the next series. But like, we come to accept it. Like I said, we feel so responsible for others' emotions and don't value our own that, like, we're susceptible to this. And then once you are aware of it and you see the problem, like once you aren't so yoked to it anymore, then we can start to change it. And a healthy partner, healthy relationship patterns will change it. That's why, like I said, 75% of the women that I work with, like their relationships, partnerships is better than ever. Way better stats than the divorce rate out there. So, anyways, emotional and psychological abuse. Kelly Clarkson's new album. This happened to her. And it is the women brave enough to stand up and share their stories that this is going to change slowly. It's like the Me Too movement. We need to share our stories and we need to believe women. Another form of domestic violence is controlling behavior. So abusive partners often exhibit controlling behavior by limiting their victims' autonomy. Can show up in many forms, like isolating them from friends and family. So again, usually starts small, but like, oh, I don't like your mother, or I don't like that friend of yours. Monitoring their activities, like their social media, their phone, controlling finances, so making it difficult for the victim to access money or resources. And in my case, and in many women's case, like many superwomen's case, the opposite is actually true, where their partner is not working, they're refusing to work, they're being supported by the superwoman. The superwoman is often using her own money to invest in projects for their partner. So we need to stop saying that controlling behavior is in the name of love, and anything that we do to limit a partner's autonomy is controlling. And yes, sometimes people control because they fear abandonment, etc. But we need to deal with the root of those problems. That's the point. Sexual abuse. So another form of domestic violence that includes unwanted sexual contact, coercion, forcing the victim to engage in sexual acts against their will, and withholding sex and withholding affection as a means to control, manipulate, devalue is another one. Stalking. So another form of intimate partner violence. Follow their victims, constantly text them, show up uninvited. Stalking behaviors can escalate quickly and create an environment of like fear for the victim. Financial abuse. So this is where the abuser controls financial resources. It can involve withholding money, forcing the victim to account for expenditures, preventing them from working or accessing education, employment opportunities. Like, oh, don't go and do that trip. Stay here with me. And sometimes this can be done in a very like, they're controlling the finances, but they're also like, oh, I'm paying for everything, I'm caring for you. But it puts the victim at a disadvantage because they don't have credit or equity. So it really is a form of abuse and control, but it looks very caring on the surface. And the flip side happens for a lot of superwomen. So not working and forcing you to support them, even though they're totally capable of working. This is a wild example, but Miss Keeney Smith, she was a guest on a previous podcast of mine. So she had just had a hysterectomy, and her abusive partner brought her a list to her bed to tell her he wasn't working. She was supporting him, all the ways that she could make money from bed after her hysterectomy. So this shit is real. Anna Kendrick, her story, another example of intimate partner violence. Okay, threats and intimidation, common tactics that abusers use to maintain control. Threats of physical harm, threats to loved ones, threats to ruin the victim's reputation or life in some way. Threats create fear and dependency, making it difficult for the victim to leave an abusive relationship, which is why abusers do it. So things like, I'm going to get full custody. If you leave, I'm going to ruin your reputation so that you can't work. You're crazy. No one's going to believe you. You can't prove that. Oh, list goes on. It's gross. It just feels gross. Jealousy and accusations. So abusers often exhibit extreme jealousy, making unfounded accusations of infidelity or betrayal. This behavior can lead to constant arguments and create a hostile living environment. Inconsistent or explosive behavior. So this is something that we do not see. Abusive people are not abusive all the time. There are good moments. This is the abuse cycle, the honeymoon phase, the apologies, the makeup sex, the things that happen after the abuse that the victim stays, because it's that reward system in our brain of maybe this is going to be different this time. And abusers are great at breadcrumbing, giving you just enough of what you need to stay, but never giving you totally what you desire. So abusive partners often have uncontrollable mood swings going from calm to violent in a matter of moments, and the unpredictability keeps the victim in a heightened state of fear, of nervous system dysregulation, walking on eggshells because they don't know when the other shoe is going to drop. Lots of the women that I work with walk on eggshells in their relationships. Now that we talked about a lot of the hard stuff, what can we do? First and foremost, we can, it always starts with us, right? And what we can control. So examine your own relationship, assuming that you may have identified some things that are toxic, because like I said, gaslighting is just pervasive, or maybe your partner is jealous and this is just something that is accepted as status quo. Work on these dynamics. Teach your children differently. Lots of this is intergenerational trauma from the patriarchy, things that we have allowed to exist, and they are so pervasive in our society that we do not even see it. I'm going to share more about this. And this is a lot of why relationships are unfulfilled and why the divorce rate is so high. This is why statistics that single women are the happiest is becoming more and more undeniable, by why a lot of women are choosing to not have partnerships, because these roles, the way we do things, they're so outdated and they're not working. It's leaving both people in a relationship unfulfilled. The second thing we can do, stop saying dumb shit to victims of domestic violence. I will give you 3 examples of things you need to stop saying to people in relationships. We just need to erase this from our vocabulary. So victims are usually silent about their abuse. The abuser, the one who has everything to hide, is the one out in the streets telling everyone that will listen how awful their ex is. Because if the truth were to come out about them, then they couldn't keep doing what they are doing, which is being an abuser. So we oftentimes get it wrong because we're usually hearing the story from the guilty party, not the victim. The victim is gaslit and has memory loss and has physical health and emotional health issues from the abuse that they endured, that they're just trying to get their fucking bearings. Okay. So things we need to stop saying. Number one, marriage takes work or effort. Stop fucking saying it. Yes, it does. But when a superwoman, a high functioning, people pleasing, over giving person hears marriages take work, when she talks about the issues that she is experiencing, when she is not seen, she is not heard, she is being gaslit, she is being belittled, she is being controlled, and she tells her story to someone or pieces of it because she's ashamed of the whole thing, might not even see the whole thing. You tell her marriages are work. She works harder. She reads more. She listens to more podcasts. She doubles down. She pretzels herself. She puts in 90% of the effort to maybe be met with 10 from her partner. That's not a relationship. That's not a partnership. It is toxic at best. And if the partner is actively undermining the relationship, it is abusive at worst. Most of the women that I work with, they're the primary breadwinners, and like the dynamics are significantly off in their relationship, and we have to work at healing it because they're not met. They don't have equals. And then when they're asking for help and support, maybe it's done once, but it's not done repeatedly or consistently. So again, this inconsistent getting of our needs met it's abusive to our nervous systems. The second thing that we need to stop saying is, well, there's two sides to every story, or it takes two. Not fucking always. In healthy relationship dynamics, yes, it is true. It takes two. Not in abusive dynamics, not with those with unhealed trauma. So if you bring a need to your partner, hey, I need you to cook the meals 3 times a week, or I need you to put in some of the emotional labor for this relationship. Plan a date, plan a vacation. So if you're stating your needs and they're constantly not being met, or they're actively being undermined, if you go to somebody, your partner, and say, hey, this hurt, like this bothers me. And again, it becomes about their feelings or your reaction to the problem, but you are not seen and heard, and their behavior doesn't correct moving forward. That is toxic, toxic at best, and abusive at worst. And the third thing that we need to stop saying is, why doesn't she leave? And we should, instead of saying, why doesn't she leave? We should say, why can't she leave? And I saw that from JD Milo on Instagram. So this might be the most insensitive thing ever. And I used to think this. Okay. Guilty. This is something that I would think, who would tolerate that? Why wouldn't she just leave? Not that simple, for several reasons, some of which, abusers are fucking charming. Like I said, if they showed the nasty pieces of fragmented, unhealed trauma that they truly are at the beginning, they would never have any victims. Think of serial killers. So the abuse is insidious and it happens slowly over time. You're connected to them in more ways than one, like I mentioned, financially, your home, your living situation, the roof over your head. You might have children. The other thing that I was completely unaware of is that post-separation abuse is often worse than the abuse that a woman will experience during the relationship. I'm going to say that again. Post-separation abuse is worse than the abuse that a woman will experience during a relationship. So victims have been isolated, gaslit, systematically destabilized, making it very, very hard for them to leave. They have families. Their children often become targets of the post-separation abuse. So staying for the kids has a whole new meaning. The shame and the stigma of relationships ending, the pervasive belief that a failed relationship is a bad thing. So I guess we also need to stop saying, I'm sorry, when people tell you their relationships have ended. Because if we look at the statistics for violence against women, there is a very good chance that it was a blessing that she got out. High conflict, divorce, custody battles tend to have three elements, according to postseparationabuse.com. The abusers need to control, the abusers need to win, and the abusers desire to hurt or punish the healthy party or victim. So there's a lot of resources for domestic violence. There is even less for post-separation abuse. And the fucked up thing is that the family court system protects abusers. Judges, mediators, parenting coordinators are often not trauma informed, and they are not educated in post-separation abuse. The family court system needs to make the safety of domestic abuse survivors and their children a priority, not the rights of the abusive parent. Women are told, did you call 911? Do you have a record? Do you have proof? Don't bring up the abuse, because the counter attack to that is you will be called crazy. You'll be accused of alienating the children. So there's multi-layer problems to this. We could do an hour just on this, but calling the police to tell them that you have been abused usually puts you at more risk for abuse from the abuser. Being accused, in a system where they think that both parents deserve equal time, and domestic violence claims are often, I think it's half of the time they're granted, but the other half they're not, because apparently she's crazy and she's alienating the children is a defense that we let happen today in 2023. The she is crazy, that is allowed in family court today. So and I hope you all want to vomit like I do. So Reem Asylum from the UN, she's an expert for violence against women. She said, within the context of child custody cases, there exists multi-layered violence that has yet to enter the collective consciousness of the international community. And I was asleep too, and that is why this episode is so important, and it's so important that you share it. Share it with a woman that you know. Anyone, even if they haven't experienced domestic violence, share it, because a woman will listen to this and this will help save her and her family. Okay, so within the context of child custody cases, there exists multi-layered violence that is yet to enter the collective consciousness of the international community. It is perpetuated primarily against a group of women, namely mothers, whose concerns this council does not address as often as it should. She says, I urge states to act as if they want to protect not only individuals, but also families from lasting harm, even if these families do not fall within the romanticized notion of an ideal family structure where a child has contact with both parents, irrespective of the best interests of the child or other considerations. So research is clear, psychological research is clear on domestic violence and its impact on children, and how the perpetrators of abuse, how their children are adversely affected. So research is very, very clear, but dad should have parenting time as the standard, and women have to fight to prove opposite. So again, not impossible, can totally be done, but it's just fucked up that the system is set out to protect the abuser as a standard. So again, patriarchy. Thank you. So the third thing that you can do, donate to your local women's shelter. Go and volunteer there. Fourth thing, share this podcast with a woman that you know. This type of abuse continues because we are silent. You are a victim of domestic violence, you can call for support. The best way to do that is to Google domestic violence hotline and put in your location. Google will even, if you Google domestic violence hotline, Google will pop up and ask if you want it based on your location. Obviously, if you are in immediate danger, please call the police. And if you're looking for some other support, therapist, trauma-informed therapist, therapists that specialize in domestic violence are another great place to start. So I know that is heavy, but it is a conversation that needs to be had. We need to clean our glasses and see clearly, look at things as they actually are and not the idealized version of what society tells us that it should be. So stay tuned for my 3-part series on unfulfilling relationships coming up next week. Have a great week, everybody. If you like what you heard in this episode, leave me a rating. Your support helps me get discovered by more women like you. Together, we can change the conversation around women's sexual health and pleasure for you, your partners, and generations to come.